Today, and I mean the day I posted this video of course, but today is day 365 of the special military operation in Ukraine. Now why am I talking about the war in Ukraine? And that is because sometimes some of you ask about these Ukrainian children you see in some of my videos. And here they are. The girls are two sisters and the young boy, Max, he's just a friend. They didn't know each other before they came here in Belgium, and they became friends because they live nearby. Now the two girls, they don't live here in my house, they in the neighbor's house. And Max, he lives a little bit further in the village here. But maybe it's a good idea to start the story from the beginning. As everybody knows, when the war broke out in Ukraine, and I think we all have seen these terrible images of people fleeing and crossing the Polish border. So when the war started, I couldn't handle it. Impossible. I can't see all these people suffering. And my neighbor thought the same way as I did. So what he did with friends and some family, he created an association and they collected goods to send to Ukraine. And they sent 15 metric tons of goods to help the people in Ukraine. And he came back with 20 something, I don't remember exact number anymore, Ukrainian people that needed a place, of course, needed housing here in the region. And because I have a spare room here in the house, I wanted to be a candidate too, to house some people. But of course, first I had to ask my kids. After all, it's their house. They grew up here, it's their kingdom, right? So it's a little bit also their decision. So I asked my kids one day if they would agree if we house some Ukrainian people here for some time. And before they gave an answer, they both stood up, went to the spare room and started preparing a bed and furniture and all the things the Ukrainian people could need. And I can hardly express how proud and how thankful I am for their reaction. So, to my two treasures, thank you very much. So now that everybody agreed and the room was set up, I contacted my neighbor to let him know that we could house two people here. And I explained a bit the room, and they can use the kitchen of course, and they can use whatever they need. And of course he was very thankful for it. And because my spare room here is at the same floor than the living room and the kitchen, bathroom, toilet, they installed here a couple, about 60 years old, husband and wife, and the lady is in a wheelchair. So I can totally understand they installed them here, because wheelchairs and stairs doesn't mix very well, of course. But for me, whatever, I could do something useful, so I was very happy. And so started a brand new adventure of sharing my house with total strangers from a country not even that far away from here. And so these people come here, and the two sisters and their mother go with the neighbor, and Max and his mother go live in the town, and the local doctor, he housed two mothers with one daughter each. Over time we managed to house here 76 Ukrainian refugees. Well, I think for a small community as this one here is a really nice number, because ask yourself the question, could you house complete strangers? Do you have a spare room? Not everyone has a spare room, Not everyone has time to share, not everyone can do this. So I think 76, it's a good result. And it was of course also the start of very busy days. Taking care of all the paperwork, because this is of course 100% official. They had passports and all these things you need. They needed new clothes because they came here with one bag and a very small backpack. That's all. All the rest they left behind. And because the lady is in a wheelchair, I made an access ramp on the front door, so it was easy for her to go in and out. And of course also bank, insurances and all this other stuff. That takes a lot of time to do. And with the couple that I had here, we agreed that we would try to find an apartment for them as quickly as possible, so they can live their own lives. I think it's normal. And I free the room here in case there's somebody else who wants it. And so we started looking for apartments. Now that's a very, very time-consuming hobby. It's not a hobby, but okay, time-consuming, because it has to be cheap, access with wheelchair, somewhere in a city center, because when they live somewhere in the fields, these people has no transport. And the lady has also special needs that of course I cannot provide. Now why should I spend some time taking care of Ukrainian people? After all, Ukraine is far away from here, so who cares, right? Let me explain. In some of my videos that I posted last summer, spring, and you can hear children play. The children you hear in these videos are these Ukrainian children, knowing that their country, their city, their houses are bombarded. And I hear them here having a good time in the garden. And one day, it was somewhere in the beginning when they just arrived here, I hear the two sisters singing. That's why I do it. All the Ukrainian children here in the neighborhood, they all go to school. And one day they had to bring apples to make apple pie in school. And because I have apple trees here in the garden, the two sisters and their mother asked me if they could take some apples here. Of course. And so they come here with a big bag and I give them a little ladder and they start picking apples. And of course it ended in a big apple fight. And I think children that are not happy, they will not sing, they will not start an apple fight. And to say thank you, the biggest of the two sisters, she comes to me and she gives me a big hug. But a real one. A real hug. That's why you do it. And one day their mother made a chocolate cake. And they gave me 3 pieces. One for me, one for my 2 kids of course. That's why you do it. My next door neighbor, here on the other side, he organizes classes for adults. And he teaches French. So all adults can go to the school 2 half a days a week. And when you see this enthusiasm that these people have to go to this school, come back and they ask questions, how to speak properly, and that's why I do it. One day I showed the lady in the wheelchair some pictures of sandcastles I made. And when you see the smile on her face, that's why you do it. Of course, it wasn't always sunshine and happiness. The people I had here, they come from the east, from the Donbass region. And one day we hear on the radio that the city where they lived for so many years was taken by the Russian army. So they have no city anymore, no house anymore, nothing. All their belongings was just this one bag and a small backpack. That's all. And that's where the lady in the wheelchair fell in a deep depression. But luckily, with the help of the social office here, we could find them a place in a more or less specialized center where they could stay, and if they want, they can have medical help and psychological help. So I think that was a good solution. And the two girls and the mother that lived here next door, they found an apartment in a little town about a half an hour drive from here. So I think that is good news. They can live their happy lives for themselves now. And the bad news is, of course, we don't see them anymore because they don't have any transport. So it leaves a little bit a gap. And there's of course also Max and his mother. Now Max and his mother, they live more in the west of Ukraine. And in the beginning of the summer, things were really quiet in the west of Ukraine. And so they decided to return home to their city. And in the same city where they live, we have also Lily. And as you can see, Lily is a cute little princess, 4 years old, and she loves to take pictures together with her mother. And exactly the same day that Max and his mother went home, Lily and her mother, they went to the doctor. So Lily in her little trolley, and then there was this missile attack. And here she is. Needless to say, she never arrived to the doctor. And she never will. 4 years old, murdered in her trolley. Knowing that this happened in the city where Max lives, and exactly the same day as he was going home, that brings the war in Ukraine really close. And I searched a little bit the internet and I couldn't find any proof at all that Lily was a threat to the Ruski Mir. And I also have one question to the person who pushed the launch button for this missile. And I'm pretty sure I will never get the answer. My question is, how do you sleep? And if this part of the video ruins your day, good. It means you have the heart in the right place. Of course, Lily was not the only one, but she became a symbol for the many thousands of children that's been murdered during this war. And I think this has to stop. And no, this is not politics. I don't want to do politics. I don't want to tell you who's wrong, who's right, who's got to win, who's got to lose. This is common sense. This is a story of people, just like you and me. It's not the story of politicians, of army. For example, for my day job, lucky I am, I work with people from over the whole world. And of course I also work with Ukrainian people, and they are really nice people to work with. I also work with Russian people, and they are really nice people to work with. Of course, I'm perfectly aware that you can stop this war and I can stop the war. But I'm convinced that we do nothing wrong by letting everyone know that we don't want it. And here I will give you something to think about. The day the soldiers came to arrest the color-skinned people, I didn't protest. I have a white skin, so it's not my problem. The day the soldiers came to arrest the Catholics and the Protestants, I didn't protest. I'm not Catholic, I'm not Protestant, so it's not my problem. The day the soldiers came to arrest the non-native people, I didn't protest. I'm born here, so it's not my problem. The day the soldiers came to arrest the homosexuals, I didn't protest. I'm not a homosexual, so it's not my problem. And the day the soldiers came to arrest me, there was no one left around anymore to protest.